What's up, everybody? Happy Sunday evening. We are live on YouTube, live. So if you have anything to say while we're chatting, feel free to drop a comment. We're going to be talking about some really cool stuff today. We're going to be talking about Hash Wednesday. And if you don't know what Hash Wednesday is, well, let me share a small description from the News Gazette. So I'll pull up my screen here, possibly, maybe. What are we doing here? Cole's live, so this is what happens sometimes when we're live, Technical difficulties. Here we go. Thanks for bearing with me. Hash Wednesday, according to the News Gazette. Quote, with the click of a lighter, Hash Wednesday was born on the University of Illinois Quad in 1977. It was modeled after other hash bashes, particularly the one in Ann Arbor, Michigan, which supported reform of marijuana laws, according to co-founder Mitch Altman. And so, like I say, this has been something that's been going on since at least 1977. You can watch all of the episodes I've done on Hash Wednesday at colememo.com/history. If you can hear my cat crying, that's just what cats do sometimes. You can also see, besides the interviews I've done, I've got a document and photo archive, which shows some newspaper clippings of over the years. You can see actual pictures of students getting arrested, of Hash Wednesdays gone past. It's really cool stuff. Well, I'm going to bring up my guest after this brief teaser. We'll be right back.
Beginning January 1st, 2020, the recreational use of cannabis will be legal in the state of Illinois.
Available to stream now, my mini doc dives into the history of Illinois legalization, starting with
January 1st, what should we expect? The biggest thing that we need people to understand is that January 1, in terms of the criminal justice system here in this state, is the end of prohibition.
See how Illinois missed its chance at real cannabis reform with key failures, including the fact that
the program includes regulation on possession limits.
So people can still be arrested for a possession.
And I want to highlight that in its first year of legalized recreational marijuana in the state of Illinois, they arrested 3 times as many black people for possession than any other race.
We've run into so much cannabis, we've run out of places to put it.
I have represented people and taken their cases through the court system who got charged with more serious crimes only because the police said that they smoked cannabis. And not because the police said you have illegal cannabis, or not because you have too much cannabis, or not because you're high on cannabis, but because I can smell it and that's it.
Attorney goes, he understands that he can't be smoking and his cannabis flower shouldn't be open. And I was like, I'd like to say for the record that I was not smoking and my flower was not open.
So that's where we're at right now in Illinois, and I hope it changes.
Start watching now at colememo.com/minidoc.
Once again, you can check out that project at colememo.com/minidoc. Hey, man, what's up? Thanks for joining me tonight. Go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hey, man, thank you for having me. My name's Jesus, just a student at U of I. Just a guy that loves cannabis.
Yeah, and you've carried the torch. We were just talking about Hash Wednesday. For folks that don't know, I'm going to play this short introduction, this short little teaser, but I'm just curious before we get into all of it, how did you learn about Hash Wednesday?
Well, basically through you, man. I mean, I think it was like a video edit from you, by you, like on, not from you necessarily, but like on Reddit, I seen it and I seen like, whoa, people was just smoking at the U of I quad. And yeah, I think I dug through your archive and whatnot.
Awesome. Yeah, well, I think we're about to watch that video. Why don't you confirm that after we watch this video, if this is the one you were talking about? We'll watch it for the audience so they can get some background on what the heck we're talking about.
Sure.
From your perspective, what is Hash Wednesday? What is Hash Wednesday?
Hash Wednesday when I was in college was the one day that you were able to smoke weed legally, in a sense, where the police, the campus police, professors, nobody cared for one day. And it was in the quad. And the quad is a big, beautiful, and Cole, big, beautiful area of grass surrounded by gorgeous architectural buildings of all the colleges, all the classrooms. And in the middle is this quad. And the quad's a great place to lay out in the sun in the summertime, chill and whatever, hang with your friends. But you can never smoke weed out there. You couldn't. But this day you could. And not only could you, but hundreds thousands of students, and I'm sure educators, professors, and I'm sure many of the community of Urbana and Champaign, everybody came together for this one day where originally apparently it started as a protest.
So that's a glance at Hash Wednesday. You can see that interview once again at colememo.com/history. Just scroll down to the section on Hash Wednesday. That's super cool, though, that you had learned about that piece of Illinois history through just seeing a piece of the media that I'd put out there. That's really cool.
No, yeah, definitely, man. That was definitely the video I seen.
Hell yeah. Well, what I thought was really cool, I'll share my screen again here in just a moment. I saw this flyer that you had made, and I'm guessing you probably got it out of the archive. I'm going to share it on our screen right now. I love what you did. It's so simple, and I even showed this to, I don't know, did you do this? Or
Yeah, I did not do that one. Another person like kind of basically made them and distributed them. I kept like 2 copies for myself and put one up as well. And didn't make it myself, didn't edit it. He's the one that found it. They dug in that archive.
Nice. I love just how they crossed out 1996 and put 2024.
Hell cool. Yeah.
Super cool. So what was it like, man? What was it like to actually do a Hash Wednesday? Because you really did, no pun intended here, carry on the torch,
Yeah, I mean, like, I think like one time basically I just like reshared it on Reddit, that video that you showed me. I mean, that you just showed us, and I was just telling people like, don't forget what they took away from us. And so I just shared it, and I talked amongst like my friends, and yeah, like other people were down with it, and like people, like, there was other groups of people I did not know, basically at the quad, like rolling up and smoking, and it was cool, man. I mean, there was like maybe like one group near the Lover's Lamp, and another one right in front of the quad, like right where the OG video is at, like. And I was like, guys, we're right here, man. We should just all come together. So like a good like 2 groups of 8 came together. And it was pretty awesome. Yeah, we was just kicking it, man.
Whoops, I was muted. Like you said, that last shot, I'll pause it here. I love that literally is a shot that was in that piece of footage. That it would be cool to like do a side by side. I should have prepared that before this show. But yeah, super cool stuff. And, like with little notice, it did look like you had a pretty good turnout and turn up, if I might say so myself.
Yeah, that was just a random dude. He was trying to hit how many vapes he could put in his mouth and hit. And just try to go blinkers all at once.
That's amazing. That's amazing. I like that there were signs being made, too. That kind of harkens back to the original Hash Wednesday,
Yeah, those guys were really like straight up protesters, straight up like I was there to have a good time. These guys are there to challenge that the war on drugs, really, carry on that challenging of the war on drugs.
And yeah, what were some of those conversations, if you can recall? I know it's been a year, almost in like 3 months. It's been a year since this last Hash Wednesday, but like. Yeah, can you recall some of the conversations that were being had?
I mean, in there, it's difficult to know. I mean, because like we were really just getting to know each other and telling each other how to roll up. Like really, like some guy was like, "Dude, my joints come out really stiff, and if I touch it, it just breaks." And I'm like, "Nah, dude, you gotta just kind of loosen it up a little bit." A lot of the like things I remember, like the signs of like. Some guy said like, how much does a gram cost? Like, or you know what I mean? Like basically referring to like how much of your life does it cost for a gram by the legal system, and things like that. We weren't really breaking into the like protests, but we already knew, like, I think the people that showed up already kind of knew the injustice of like the war on drugs,
Yeah, I was just curious if there was any discussion. I know that like since you live on the quad and stuff, that people probably aren't growing at home and stuff, or in their dorms, right? Because you can't. But I was just curious, like that's sort of some of the discussion, that it seems like the advocates of the past were having, you know, of course, we can purchase cannabis legally now and everything, but kind of like the teaser that I displayed at the beginning of the episode, like I was only asking that question in case, like, since you mentioned there were some,
There was.
you know, kind of, yeah,
There was one.
yeah,
There was one gentleman that like we're smoking and we're passing it, and we're almost got to the point of arguing because we're like, yeah, man, like we shouldn't like wherever cigarettes are smoked, we should be able to smoke weed. And I'm like, yeah, you know, and if we can't smoke weed, then we can't smoke cigarettes either, you know. And we were like, kind of like we were like at different planes, but really we were saying the same thing. And we were like, you know what, we just kind of stopped like, yeah, no, we know what we're saying. And yeah, because we just didn't like how cigarettes were accepted and, you know, weed isn't.
right, right. The double standard is amazing. It's kind of like, you know, you can literally like. Actually, it was interesting a few years ago when I went to Wrigleyville. I don't know if they still have this. This was before the pandemic, but there was like a smokers section outside, you know, at the Cubs Stadium.
Yeah.
Like, once again, sorry if you guys can hear my cat crying. He really wants to talk about Hash Wednesday. He's got a lot of opinions. Anyways, there's a smoker section out there, and I just asked like politely if I could smoke weed out there, and they actually did allow me. I don't know that that's policy or if they were just being nice or whatever. And again, I don't even know if they still have a smoker section, but yeah, like you just said, like I truly believe that's the way that it should be. Like if you can smoke a cigarette there, like why wouldn't you be able to smoke some weed out there or vape or whatever?
Yeah, man, honestly. I mean, like you go like to Cam's and right out, and like they're right next to a dispensary, and they have a sign right there like no cigarette, no weed, like I mean, which is fine. Like they basically have it like, you know, outlawing both, you know, per se, but you know, at least they're not discriminating in it, you know.
Wow, so there's a sign at Cam's, which for folks that don't know, Cam's is like a pretty, I would say a pretty historic bar even on campus. And so you're saying there's a sign that like literally says no smoking weed or tobacco or something like
Yeah,
that?
type of deal. Because like, yeah, like I know people like get their vapes taken away inside or whatever. Like right outside of it, like I'm pretty sure, from what I could recall, there was like a no, like, you know, marijuana leaf, you know, with the circle crossed out. And it was just like ironic because it was like, dude, the dispensary's right next to it, you know,
True.
like literally just touching. Yeah, yeah, man.
Yeah. Well, I met you. I recall meeting you at Molly's joint. Not to switch, we can get back to Hash Wednesday, but how cool is something like that? Just speaking of Hash Wednesday, like the fact that you can just go get a sandwich, fucking smoke weed and chill, watch video games or whatever. Like, pretty cool concept, right?
Hell yeah, man. No, I loved it. I loved it at that place. And like, you know, I remember like me being scared, like, can I bring my, you know, my actual bud? And we don't know if they were cool or whatever. They were like, just go for it, because I'm weird, because I trip out. They like, this little like facade of legalization is like saying like, oh, you got to purchase it here, you can only use it here, has to be in this little sealed dispensary package and whatnot.
It is really funny how you're like kind of on pins and needles about like consumption of when it's like should just be legal, like pretty simple, right?
Yeah. I mean, I grew up in the era where people were smoking cigarettes in Burger King, like, and like, now that like we can't really smoke indoors or smoke at all in public campuses, like is, I would have like, I have these thoughts, like, I wonder how it would have been if we were allowed to smoke, would people be smoking weed out here, on the regular,
Yeah, on one hand, I get it. Like, I get the smoke-free areas and stuff, but on the other hand, yeah, they can be a real bummer. But it is cool that like I say, I just used that location as an example since we had met there for the first time. But it's cool that locations like that like exist nowadays. A place where you can literally just, there are a few in the state. And to your point, I have heard other ones are much more strict than the one we were just talking about. Like so strict that like literally I think they're like watching you and like you can't like smoke anything but their weed that you buy there. You know? It's like, man. I mean, I get it if you're trying to make money to an extent, but also like chill. Like I'll pay cover to get in or something,
For sure, man. I mean, yeah, no, right? That should be it. Like, let me at least pay cover then, or I mean, what, they're gonna extort you for a tip? You better tip my guy good, like, like as if it was like you know what I mean, like cocaine in a bathroom, in a bar bathroom, you know what I mean? Like, it's like, what the hell, dude? You know?
It is pretty crazy. It's pretty crazy. Well, to get back to Hash Wednesday for a brief moment, I want to just show this video. You know, I don't know if people that have tuned in have seen it, and it's from a local news station, WCIA, and it's a segment called From the Vault, where they kind of get old archive footage out, and this one was on Hash Wednesday. You'll recognize some of the footage from that teaser we just played at the beginning of this stream. Let's check it out.
Mark the beginning of Lent with Ash Wednesday.
The season asks the faithful to repent for past sins by giving up a vice. But as WCIA3's Matt Metcalf discovered, an unrelated holiday with a similar name is all about indulgence. It's From the Vault.
It's been more than 2 years since Illinois legalized recreational marijuana, but for decades, smoking cannabis was part of the counterculture, a sign of resistance. And at the U of I, Hash Wednesday brought secret vices out into the public eye. Stan Childress filed this report from the U of I in 1978.
An English teacher, this reporter once was, so where prose doesn't do, perhaps verse does. For this is a special day on the U of I Quad, a day whose activities were once thought mod. It's an anniversary of sorts, 1 week delayed, but as these faces tell, the folks aren't dismayed. Hash Wednesday, they call it, coming once each year, perhaps as a reminder of the things many fear.
I can't understand why anybody would have any fear for it whatsoever. A lot of people know nothing about marijuana at all, and it frightens them.
Older generation doesn't know about it.
I think a lot of the society does fear it.
Let's call these things drugs of the subculture set, but just how sub are they? We may discover yet. Could we be moving in a direction unknown, or is this an old path generations have known? We suspect the latter, that is, this trail is old, aged wine and new flasks, this tale is being told. By gosh, hear what's said by the Fords and Mills. Hark, hark, young folks, this stuff really kills. The purpose of this day, to bite the Solon's ear, this stuff called hash, we need not fear. Illegal it is, we've heard the law say, but there were no arrests on this hash day. It's as if to say, let's all take a pause and consider decriminalization, which is their cause. Let's remember one thing, the Solons aren't deaf. Remember, too, for them, the issue is complex. So they've had their day, and a sunny one at that, and we're sure next year they'll be back. And I've had my day with some Charles Osgood flair, and for those of you who broke no laws today, it just doesn't seem fair. Stan Childress, Channel 3 News, at the University of Illinois, which has a lot of reason, but no rhyme. This reporter is out of time.
While marijuana might be legal now, forget lighting up anything on the U of I Quad. The entire campus went smoke-free, even outdoors, in 2014. From the vault.
So, I thought that was a super interesting report. Somebody commented and said, "The news, a poet, so amazing." That was pretty. I mean, you got to give it to him. He had some bars there. It's really crazy though to see this shot. I'll play it again here with it on mute, so that we can just look how many people were there, man. Like,
yeah, dude.
Especially this shot coming up. It's almost similar to that shot you had on one of the videos we shared.
Oh yeah,
right here. Yeah, looking down the quad. Like,
yeah,
so cool.
I hope it gets packed like that one day.
Yeah, and that's one of the things. Like, oh, go ahead.
Oh, I'm saying, yeah, again, you know.
Yeah, that's one of the things I feel like since we have legalized it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm saying air quotes because we have to worry about just a little bit ago you were like going to a legal establishment with weed that was legally like yours, and you're like, can I bring it here? I mean, like, it almost, I think the best analogy, legal weed in Illinois feels like you're going through the TSA.
Yeah.
You know, like, even if you're not doing anything wrong, or have you ever gone to a grocery store and like you didn't buy anything, but you walk out and just for some reason you feel like you're doing something wrong? Like, yeah,
kind of. I mean, that's that capitalism ingrained in us, but you know.
Yeah, true. Funny stuff. Well, yeah, once again, folks, comment if you have any questions or any thoughts on this. Like I say, just taking us back to that Hash Wednesday that you started, like, remind me, how did it come together? It sounds like you saw like this idea, talked to some friends, or saw that there was interest from other people. I mean, I even remember seeing on Reddit somebody saying like, when are we going to do this again? And they're like, I mean, why not just this year,
Yeah. Yeah.
Is that kind of
I
how
mean,
it came together? Or?
kinda, yeah, kinda. Like I don't want to say like that I was necessarily a driving force, like due to like I think I could have, if I really wanted, if I was felt okay in doing it, I would have really put more effort into making a big thing out of it,
Yeah, you
right?
just heard about it, right?
Yeah, I heard about it kind of, and then I kind of told other people about it, Um, but yeah, like it seemed pretty cool, man. Like I just wanted to get together and like just resist the war on drugs, really, as it was intended to do so. I knew people out here get high, smoke weed and stuff, but like I haven't really seen it much, like I haven't seen it much, and at that day was nice, man. Like people were going to and from class, like crossing through the quad, and they're like, "Damn, can I get a hit?" Like, hell yeah, it was pretty cool, man. I mean, and I'm sorry, dude, but another guy and I were like just like chalking up, like saying like high noon, like Wednesday, like come through, you know. And if they get it, they get it,
That's super cool to hear, man. Like it sounds like you're literally, I don't know if you listened to some of the interviews, but like some of the people that I brought on didn't organize it either. They just heard about it like you and talks amongst friends, and then everybody shows up and you meet more friends. Like
Right.
this is so cool to hear about, and I'm so excited to share this with past organizers. That, and speaking of, I don't know if this is who I think it is, but somebody said where. This happened at the U of I Quad over the years, and just recently in 2024. So, yeah. Yeah, super interesting stuff. But like I say, it's weird to think that, you didn't know it, you didn't plan for it. Like you just kind of, found yourself at the University of Illinois and heard about this tradition and, talked about it with, like you said, just random people, and everybody congregated. And if they didn't hear about it, they just walked by and happened to be like, whoa, what's going on? This seems chill.
Yes, there was a girl that was like completely shocked, like like as if we were like, just like it was just crazy, man. She was just completely shocked about it. I just remember her just walking for like 2 minutes, just like angry at us. So, I'm like, dude, it's not even that serious, But yeah, man. I mean, it was just like I had like one good friend like throughout that first semester, and we were stoners, and like I met like other through social groups, other stoners, and I just seen this person dispersing the flyer. And I remember we exchanged messages, on Reddit, and we're like, and then we're like, you know what? I know who you are. I think I know who you are. We shook up, and like, I was just telling them, I'm like, I'm gonna be there, And they were there with like 5 other people, and then my other close friend was there with another, set, and I was like, dude, let's just come on, man, let's get together.
Yeah, I mean, it looked like there at least were like 10 people out there, which is super cool. Do you think like 10 to 20 people maybe showed up?
Yeah, I would say so. There was a time where it was a lot. It was a lot. I felt like it was a good number amount. And
cool.
Then basically people had some class and maybe just left.
Yeah, and it was probably all types of people too. Like I'm sure you met a lot of new friends. I guess that's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I every time I see them, I'm it's very pleasant to see them. Like I just it's because like I like how informal it was. It wasn't like we're putting on a mask for class or anything like that. It was just like we're if anything, we're taking off our mask and we're gonna get high at the quad.
That's pretty cool. Yeah, that's pretty cool. Somebody commented and said, having experienced the original Hash Bash in A2, I don't know if they meant 82, I don't know what they meant by that, and being mind blown by the amount of smoke and air outdoors, I look forward to the UICU version. That's funny. Yeah. I mean, I will say, I'll probably like show up or whatever. I might be like respectful of the no smoking thing just to, but I do think that it's worth, for the reasons we kind of started off in the show, I think it's worth having like in the future a Hash Wednesday at the Capitol, at the Springfield Capitol, because I feel like it would be a very effective way to deliver the message on some of the things we were alluding to earlier, the shortcomings of legalization in Illinois, like possession limits, the fact that you can't home grow if you don't have a card, and even if you have a card, you're limited by the number of plants you can grow, and the fact that, like you said, if it's not in like a sealed, odor-proof, child-proof container, that it's a Class A misdemeanor. Like, it used to just be, I always like to make this point for people that don't know, there was a period of time in Illinois where it was just decriminalized. Now, it wasn't depenalized. It just wasn't no longer criminalized. So if you got caught with a, cannabis that was, I believe, like between 0 and 10 grams, which, is a smaller amount, you could get a ticket, just a ticket, like a $100 to $250 ticket. That would be like if I had a baggie of weed in this front pocket or a joint behind my ear, you'd get a ticket. Nowadays, that same behavior, like I just said, it's a Class A misdemeanor, because in that situation that we lay out, like those aren't odor-proof containers, right? So in a way, according to lawyers I've spoke to, and I'll just give another plug for my mini doc, which features these perspectives, like in a way, criminalization has gotten worse in that regard for cannabis, which is a real bummer. So that's why I say I think that doing a Hash Wednesday at the Capitol in the future could be a really interesting way to say, like, look, we've made a lot of progress, but like you just said, like one of the topics we could start off with is the fact that technically you can't smoke weed wherever you can smoke cigarettes. So we're just kind of doing an open defiance of that. Then we can talk about, like I say, these other issues, these other shortcomings, and be like, look, we appreciate the progress that has been made. We just think, as especially people that pay attention to the history on the war on drugs, there's still a lot of work to be done, And I think that'd be a good way to kind of showcase it, possibly. But I'm just spitballing online,
Right. I mean, I think it's a great idea, and I would want to be there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's funny is that I kind of just floated that idea to other people that were involved in the protests over the years, and they say they'd be there too. And I think that would be a really interesting thing, because it could almost be like a multi-generational Hash Wednesday. You know what I'm saying? And like allow people to speak, and that's a lot of things for me to figure out. I don't know, like, like technically when you have like a gathering, you have to get permits sometimes, and it's like, yeah.
Yeah, man, it's a shame, dude. Yeah. I do think about like that. How we were saying, it's like people say like, oh, like when I'm smoking weed out in public, I'm like kind of paranoid, and like they're like, oh, like they're like, oh, why are you afraid? It's legal. It's legal. Like, I kind of ask, like, if I'm like close to people, like, is it cool if I spark this up? And they're like, no, it's legal. You shouldn't have an issue. But I'm like, dude, nah, like, it's not really legal like that. Like, I could get in trouble. And, man, there was cops in the past that had let me go. Like, you know what I mean? They seen weed on me in my car, and they just let me go. They're like, they just act like they didn't see nothing. You know what I mean? Like they damn near catch me red-handed, and they're like, you know what, man, just go. And I'm like, oh shit, So it's like as if like I don't know, it was in the past, like, cause like maybe I don't know what, like maybe the guy didn't have a body cam, who knows? But like there's always these trade-offs, man. And had this weed, and I think maybe the guy was, maybe he smoked weed before, and he was just like, oh shit, it's nothing. This guy's not harming people. Just get out of here. Whereas now, it's like they have these, I don't know how to say it, but like I'm pretty sure they have this procedure, this citation, and like when they know, like, oh, some weed, I got, it's a misdemeanor now, I think back then it was just kind of like this little, like this unspoken resistance, that like they're like, you know what, man, I'm not gonna fuck your life up, dude. You know, you've addressed me as sir. You know, you pulled over, right? You cooperated as much as you could, you know, as you felt as you could, and dude, just let me go. And I just think about that a lot.
Yeah, that's crazy. Somebody commented and said, they said it was actually up to the officer and how they wanted to charge, state or federal. I got both in Illinois. One, just a ticket for less than 14 G's and locked up in county for having a queue and having a case. Now, I think they're talking about when they were commenting earlier when we were talking about decrim. They said that's how Illinois used to be. And I've been in court both ways 10 years ago. They had cops dump out bags, break their bowl with no ticket. So that sounds similar to a situation you went through where they kind of were like, look, and I've heard about that before from a friend that I had where she got pulled over and the guy was like, look, I smell weed in here. And she was like, yeah, there's weed in here. And he's like, look, if you just pour it out on the side of the road, I'll let you go. He did that and like kicked, rubbed his like foot on it basically.
Yeah.
And then was like, get out of here. And she got out of there and with no ticket. So yeah, it is. Those stories are crazy to hear, especially coming from like, I know people that I've got like a younger brother. And so like he has kind of come up to his adult life and weed has been legal in several states, including ours, for like a while now. So like to him, it is just normal. And to him, he probably thinks the same way you were just describing some people have talked to you about where they're like, it's just legal. Why can't I just like spark it up out here?
Yeah, no, man. Sorry, I have to turn off the camera. Got to let this like phone charge on the wireless pad.
Oh, hey, no problem. Yeah. So, anyways, like, it's just kind of interesting to think about like what we've lived through, like a time where like when you get pulled over, and it's still even worrisome to this day when I get pulled over with weed. I'm like, God, am I about to? Even I'm not doing anything wrong necessarily. You know what I mean? Yeah. But it's still the fact that they can just say your container is not odor-proof. You know what I mean? Like, and then you can be in trouble. Like that's.
Yeah, that's definitely. I mean, that's crazy because it's like, what if I personally put like my weed in a medicine bottle, and that's like child-proof, but it's not smell-proof. But that's like, it's good. Or nowadays I put it in empty paint cans, like unused paint cans, put them in there. And like you kind of need like something like a tool to open this paint can. And I'm like, dude, it's basically childproof. But like I'm pretty sure, man, the law would just get me, for that.
Yeah, sounds like that container is basically adult proof too.
Damn near.
Yeah, no, but for sure. I mean, it's super interesting. Like, and the fact that they can't search for the smell of burnt cannabis, but they can search for the smell of raw cannabis. Like you'd think it would be the other way around. Obviously, I'd prefer neither, but you'd think it'd be the other way around, like where the cops can search for if it smells like cannabis is burning, right? No, they can't. They can only search if they can smell raw cannabis.
Dude. No, that's crazy, man. And how are they gonna know? Like if it's even burnt or not? Like I have a hard time kind of.
Also, like, yeah, one of the points that a lawyer made on the show in the past is like, to your point, yeah, how are they gonna know the difference between raw and burnt? And he made the joke, and I've made this joke since then. I'm pretty sure he made this joke that like, I've been studying this plant for years, and sometimes you could fool me on whether it's burnt or raw, right? Like, in other words, if you walk into a room, like, I don't know, you could pop quiz me and I might get it wrong depending on like if it's just really good weed or maybe you did just smoke. Like, I don't know. It's just the smells sometimes can be hard to differentiate. Sometimes it's like, yeah, you obviously just burnt cannabis. But anyways, the other point that the lawyer made was like the term burnt cannabis is also becoming outdated. Like a lot of people vape now. Like what about that?
Yeah, that's true, man. I use a dry herb vaporizer and it doesn't like when I put that in there, dude. It smells like burnt popcorn, and it's like, dude, I wish like I would hope that would save me from a search,
Yeah, but yeah, you know, like you just said, I don't know how that applies. obviously I wouldn't be driving around puffing on it, but you know, like I said, a lawyer asked that same question on the show, like, you know, how is that going to play into it? So it'll be interesting to see how it all moves forward. It'd be interesting to see, because actually before this case had been ruled on, we're talking about 2 Illinois Supreme Court cases, by the way, folks. If you want to learn more, go to colememo.com and just search up the phrase Supreme Court, and you'll find plenty of articles and episodes I've done with lawyers, and I'll try to put it in the show notes if you're listening to this episode later. Anyways, though, before this Supreme Court ruling, the legislature was going to address this issue, but law enforcement objected to that idea, saying that, you know, they don't like the idea of removing their ability to search vehicles on the basis of the smell of raw cannabis. And the legislature, or the legislator of that bill, I guess, just removed that language. So I wrote about that on colememo.com as well. And I guess what I'm saying, that was a long way of saying, is I'm hoping that the legislature will return to that issue going forward and fix it, because they were going to remove. It's very simple. I heard the language did get reintroduced, so that's promising. Basically, they're just striking the word odor proof from the container law. So it just must be sealed or resealable, child proof container, you know?
Yeah. I think it's like ambiguous, just to give them the leverage, you know, for now.
Well, it would take away their ability, I would say, to conduct searches based on just the smell of cannabis. Because one of the other things that's unique about them being able to do that is, like, how do you replicate that? Because, like, when there are allegations made in any, like, actual crime, like, let's just say somebody shot a firearm, right? Crazy. Wow, that's scary. But what you can do with that, with, let's say, something that happens like that, is, like, you can literally prove in the courtroom, like, the trajectory. Like, there are things, like, you can get the shell cases, right? I'm just going off, like, a random example.
No, for sure.
You can get the shell casings. You can bring in the gun. You can say we swabbed his hand and he had gunpowder on it. I don't know. Like, there are ways to prove that a crime had been committed, but when it's the smell of cannabis, what are you going to do? Like, drive the vehicle into the court and, like, you know what I mean? Like, you can't, like, prove that. It's all on trusting that the officer knows, you know, that that's what he smelled, and that he didn't just make it up and get lucky, I guess, is what I'm saying. So
No, for sure, man. I mean, like, it's hilarious, dude. Like I would be, like, my first stoner days, I'd be paranoid, like, because I would smell weed on a random throughout the day, dude. Like, at work or something, like, I'll have my gloves on, or, you know, these, like, latex gloves, and I'll take them off, and it smells like weed. And then, like, I had to get, like, somebody else's, like, opinion on this, dude. Like, I wear these shoes, like, they do, like, my everyday shoes, and I work out in them, and I get high in them. And I'm like, you know, we're, you know, getting on the wrestling mat, and I'm like, dude, like, does my shoe smells like weed? And they're like, yeah, it smells like weed. So like it would be interesting. Like, you know, I could be like, dude, something like your coat, you know what I mean? Like, if your winter coat, it could smell like weed, man. And, like, those things you could bring it to court, and, like, it smells like weed, but yeah, not the interior of a car, man. You know, like it's just some bullshit, really. You know, I just always feel like, you know, like I understand, man, like, yeah, we had to have, like, some kind of, like, law enforcement, you know, but, like, in another sense, it's like, dude, I don't trust them. I think they just generate revenue. Yeah, man, like that is one of their primary, like, like, functions, you know, like, you know, I'm pretty sure, like, there's some Supreme Court, you know, cases that say, like, they don't have no obligation to protect or serve you. So it's like, you know, what is their goal? You know?
Right. Yeah. Somebody asked no, that's exactly it. It's like, if they're not here to protect and serve us, like, what are they here for? Who are they protecting and serving? Right.
Yeah.
what interests are they protecting and serving? Somebody commented and said, is Hash Wednesday at the U of I? And in the past, yeah, it has been. And what we're talking about today is there was one, I'm displaying the sign, there was one on April 17th, 2024. And yeah, we were just kind of recapping what it was like to be there. And I'm just curious to kind of close out the conversation, Jesus, like any other thoughts about Hash Wednesday? I don't know, just the way that you talked about it, I'm like riding the high of how warm the image is. I like the idea of how impromptu it was, how you like met new people and probably made new friends. And like I say, even just the moments that we watched to see all the different people like sit, just hanging out, chilling out, like talking, like warms my heart. But I wanted to give you the space. Like any other thoughts that you wanted to mention about your experience at that Hash Wednesday?
Well, I mean, yeah. I mean, first off, that sign where we put that posting on it, that thing doesn't even exist anymore. It's like this big, beam. Anybody can hang their posters on at the quad. That thing is gone, and it sucks that thing is gone. Yeah, I think that's where it's attached to. And yeah, I mean, I felt like a lot of just random signs were up there. A lot of people, it took away freedom, some kind of freedom of expression, in my opinion, or like even freedom of congregating together. But yeah, man, like you said, man, it was warm. It was cool, man. I remember being really thirsty, dude. Like cotton mouth as hell. And there was this RSO called like Half and Half, and they were like half Asian and half American like student group, and they were like selling their their drinks, like their culture's drinks. And I just had a good one there. And I was like, dude, like a lot of RSOs can make some money, man. Like they could just sell their munchies and sell their drinks, sell like some hot food there. Like, it could be something like if we're going to be so like, idealized with like the consumerism, man, they might as well just latch on to opportunity and let us be, we're people getting together peacefully, man. I mean, I don't know how the city's ordinances are. I know like sometimes they want like for every 100 people that shows up at a quinceañera, they want a cop, And so like, I wonder how it is over here, but it's like, dude, we don't really need that. Like people, man, people like, justice is a universal thing, man. We're not gonna like people could just police themselves if anything, we hold each other accountable. We're trying to be at peace and trying to have fun, trying to smoke. And it was a good time, man. And like, yeah, man, I honestly, it was one of like one of the golden memories of U of I, that and other protests, I went to, and like, man, I hope I have more of those, and I hope it just gets, bigger and better,
Yeah. Somebody just asked in the chat, we don't have the answer to this question. All I can say, they ask Hash Wednesday 2025, and yeah, I mean, Jesus, if we hear about it, I like I said, I might show up and just at least document it. I think it's cool to capture it.
Yeah, I mean, I think I know who that company is, and I think they're gonna try to get me in trouble, not jokingly, but no, I think we should, man. I think like if we can't alter our own conscience, man, like if we're not free to like smoke weed or a cigarette. Like I don't like cigarettes, but if we're not free to do that, like then like I don't think we're too free at all, man. Like we're free to be buzzed out on like geeked up on coffee all the time, Like you live out, you go to school out here, man. You could go get coffee in 20 different locations, man. Like why can't I just have like this little stoner patio or smoker patio, and then why not just stop there for just cigarettes, but like smoke weed out there too.
Dude, seriously, Champaign-Urbana is lacking in that, with the fact that like you said, I mean, there's literally a dispensary right next to Cam's, the bar, but like, yeah, no place to really like legally consume.
Yeah. And people do it, and rightfully so. And like, I just smile, and I honestly, man, I mean, even if it's not like, maybe who knows, with the new generation, they're going to look at it like cigarettes and not, like not really see the rebellious act in it. But like for now, when I do see someone spark up, like, it's pretty cool. And then I think like a stoner knows another stoner, and they will share most of the time. It's more of a very communal thing, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, look at this. Look at this. This is from the quad in the past. Look how communal this is. They're helping the person stand on the shoulders to hit a giant bong. You see that?
Hell yeah, dude.
Communal. Very communal. Cool stuff. No, just trying to be funny. Here's something funny they did in the past. They did a joint rolling competition.
Yeah, see.
It's a good idea. Now you know how they did it. They did it with oregano.
Okay.
Yep. So, it kind of looked like it, felt like it, and allowed them to make a point without pushing it too far. You can see some students speaking in the past in these images. Some of these people have been on the show. I just want to remind our listeners.
But man, how communal it is. Like cigarette. Like people when they they're not sharing their Marlboro cigarette. Like what I mean. Like not necessarily with a group of 8 people with one long cigarette. No, dude. Like with weed, it really is bringing people together, man.
It really is. I mean, yeah, and it has been over the years. You can see it. It's pretty cool stuff, man. And like I said earlier, it's cool to see that you guys did similar things, like with flyers, because you can see this is from Hash Wednesdays gone past.
Oh yeah, man.
Once again, if you're just tuning in now, I mentioned earlier that some of these people have been on the show. If you want to see other Hash Wednesday interviews that I've done with even some of these people, like both of these people came on the show, and a lot of other people that have been pictured in this archive have come onto the show. You can watch those interviews at colememo.com/history. And dude, you're going to be there too now. You're at least there for a first-hand account to share it on the show. And I appreciate you coming on to, talk about all this, because without you coming on and sharing what you saw firsthand, that can get lost in, the mix. So it's cool that we got on here, talked about it. Now other people know that it happened, and hopefully it inspires other people, to look out, join. And if, they can't join us in Champaign-Urbana, if it happens again or whatever, wherever, maybe they can start one up wherever they are. Right.
No, for real, man. I mean, honestly, dude, I just think, we should have a Hash Wednesday at that caliber where there is flyers, there is activities, and shout out to my boy Patrick. He wanted me to shout about it. Shout out to Carolina. But yeah, man. I mean, man, I take the war on drugs really serious, man. It hurts me, man. I write poems about it, and one thing, dude, wanted to share, man. When I was in Mexico, getting weed out there is a very dangerous thing, I guess. And I got a pack, I got some weed pack, and it was they had the cartel's insignia on it. And basically I felt like it was almost the same thing as it is in America. Over here in America, if you have a bag of weed, it better have a dispensary pack on it, the seal. If the police see you, these people with guns see you with it, they want to see that stuff. They want to see the seal. Whereas over there in Mexico is the same thing, man. You better have the right seal. It's it's eye-opening for me, man. And man, yeah, dude. And I would say, man, we can't alter our own consciousness, man. We're not free. And and I remember coming across this quote, saying if nature is illegal, there's no freedom if nature is illegal. Things like that, man. And just
Yeah,
I owe a lot to weed.
Yeah, and like you say, it's we should be. I heard a quote from Hamilton Morris. He said we should have the freedom to be able to explore these alternate states of consciousness, regardless of whether or not they're safe. The point isn't necessarily safety. The point is that if we want to live in a free country, we have to be able to engage in a certain amount of risk. Like right now, we've been smoking weed on here. I'm not necessarily saying smoking weed is healthy. I'm saying as an American, if I have the right to smoke a fucking cigarette and drink a beer, I should be able to smoke some weed. You know, I'm also not saying it's the worst thing either, but it would be silly, I think, right now to say that it's healthy. It's you know, we're setting something on fire. Like you said, you know, you vape or you can do edibles. So maybe there are like more healthy ways to consume or less harmful ways, or however you want to say it. But let's not kid ourselves. That's not what it's about. It's the idea that, you know, this is a non-violent activity we choose to partake in, that if it does hurt anybody, it hurts ourselves. And it's like, this is what America's supposed to be about, right?
Yeah, man.
Freedom.
Yeah, dude. I wasn't gonna like steal cars for my weed habit, you know. Like, I wasn't gonna do anything like that. If anything, I wanted to do volunteer work. You know, I want to pick up the trash. Like these, you know, there's drunk people leaving their solo cups everywhere. I kind of want to just get high and pick up the trash instead. You know.
Yeah, straight up. Straight up. Whenever I think of the little ways in which cannabis legalization is limited in Illinois and other states, I think of this meme where it's like, I'm sorry, I thought this was America.
Yeah, man. Yeah, dude. Oh my God. Yeah, man. Let me can I recite one of my poems, dude, or not?
Absolutely, you can. Absolutely. And while you get ready, can I just say, really, just excited. First of all, thank you for asking that, because absolutely you can. But one of our proud veterans of Mini Hash Wednesdays is checking in. He said, "Hey, just checking in. Thanks for tuning in. Glad to see you."
Yeah.
And anyways, though, Jesus, let's hear it, man.
For sure, man. It doesn't have a title, man, but you know, when I do think about like the ideals of of freedom and drugs, you know, kind of just gets me thinking. But yeah, man, I was like, the war on drugs is the war on free hugs. Though there are drugs you shouldn't do, and if something was temporary, it doesn't make it less true. It's insanity that the world's highest prison population belongs to the land of the free. I believe there should be a zeroth amendment, the freedom to alter my consciousness without repercussions by my government. Consumerism telling me the world runs on Dunkin'. Caffeine to stimulate you before work, so get your drugs in. There are drugs you do to help you survive the day. Then there are some that tell you we can live another way. If we alter culture, we alter the flow of power. But addiction will have you powerless, and addiction to power will have you merciless. Nixon didn't want anti-war and civil rights movements, so then racial disparity begins to make sense. The drug embezzlement agency that is the DEA should dissolve along with capitalism's invincible army that is the CIA, as the Nicaraguan Contras were funded through the crack plague. And never forget First Amendment martyr Gary Webb, whose death was ruled a suicide with 2 shots to his head. The vicious culture of profits over life still thrives, and as long as drugs and immigrants are legalized, we will only continue to fund a criminal enterprise. That's it.
Bro, that was amazing. That was amazing.
Oh, I appreciate you, man.
That was amazing. And you even touched on some themes. I think if you haven't checked out the interview I did with Joshua Salone, I think you would really appreciate. I think he actually touched on just exactly one of the topics, the Nicaraguan, I believe. That's something that he had touched on in that episode. That's so cool. And so you mentioned earlier that this subject just kind of inspires you to like do this, right? Like this just comes out like naturally for you.
Yeah, man. I mean, getting high kind of helped me out go through some depressions, and then kind of helped me be curious and to learn. You know, I had went to a shitty high school. I mean, great teachers, but a bad high school, man. And it was it resembled more of a prison, and didn't want to really enlighten you. It didn't really, you know, wasn't really fostering an environment to learn. And then when I started smoking weed and going to college, I was you know, man, I really cared, man. I was hearing about these nonviolent drug offenders, man. You know, we have, you know, man, you know, filling our prisons, and then from then on, you know, and it's not to say that weed and shrooms solves everything, you know. You know, I've definitely had some drawbacks too, you know, but you know, nowadays I gotta cut down my weed with CBD and CBG. I gotta cut it down by the end of the day kind of activity nowadays. no longer Wake and Bake, but like the pros definitely outweigh the cons, you know, and you know, and I love my country to a point for its ideals, and I think we should be free enough to alter our own consciousness, man. Like it's, you know, man, like a lot of philosophers talk about like the soul being interchangeable with the mind, and so if we can't alter our own mind, man, you know, it tells you, you know, it should tell you something.
Yeah, and not to bring up like a too sad of a note, but like when you think about again kind of the ways we are able to alter our mind, like I think it was just within the last year that we lost a student at the University of Illinois who I believe if my memory serves me correct was consuming alcohol and like fell asleep or something. Do you remember this?
Yeah, I was pissed about that shit, dude. I didn't start drinking habitually till 25. You know what I mean? Like drinking it on a regular, like drinking like every weekend until I was 25. I was smoking a lot, dude. And like yeah, man, I felt like, dude, that wouldn't have happened, bro. Like if I mean not that it wouldn't have happened, but like it's a whole different culture, man. Like these people get out here, they're very belligerent drunk at sometimes, you know, and whereas, you know, stoners, I think they would not be doing that kind of, you know, crazy shit, dude.
Yeah. Yeah. Anything else you wanted to share before you go? You know, the space is yours. If you had any other thoughts or work, you know, like I said, poems, anything.
I mean, no, man. I mean, I really appreciate you putting me on here, dude. I appreciate your work, and like, I kind of got out as much as I could think of, dude. I mean, like, you know, I want to shoot for maybe a legislator one day. So, so, you know, we'll see what's up. You know, I got to look into that language of like burnt smell or not, because I'm like, what the hell?
Yeah, no, for sure. It's the law is a whole other. It's very interesting for sure. Just especially with this topic, if cannabis is a gateway drug, I would say it's a gateway drug to politics because it's made me interested in how the law works. I've gone to Springfield a few times to see how that dynamic works. And one of the thoughts I had last time I was there was like, man, you know, I'm showing up for like weed, basically. Wouldn't it be crazy if like all of us showed up for like really important political other topics like health insurance and just the war on drugs in general.
Oh hell yeah, man.
But you know, it's hard for people to get out to Springfield. I wanted to just say that, but go ahead.
No, it is. I haven't been there myself, and you know, I care about that stuff. And yeah, dude. I mean, to me, the war on drugs was like nucleus, and it really goes on to other things, man. It's like how how unjust other aspects in life is, you know.
Yeah, I don't know if you saw these comments earlier, so I just want to display them again. People said that poem was a masterpiece. They said you snapped. People liked what they heard. I liked what I heard. Great work. I'm so glad we were able to make it a part of this Hash Wednesday series. And I just want to say, if any of your friends are listening and they've either been to one in the past or they go to one in the future, hit me up. I'd love to have you come on and talk about your experience. I think it's important to document people's experience on this. I think this particular protest interests me a lot because of its rich history. Like we said at the beginning of the show, it started in like 1977. To think it's still going on in 2024, and I'm sure something might, like, who knows, you know, now that people have heard about it, be interesting to see if a Hash Wednesday happens somewhere, you know. Yeah. And if not, like I said, maybe people might be inspired to start their own version wherever they live if they, you know, are far away from the quad. But anyways, dude, again, thank you for coming on. I had a lot of fun. I also want to thank you. Maybe it's not you, but I want to give a shout out to the UIUC Hemp Club. I think you're a part of the Hemp Club, but you guys gave me a space to share my mini documentary, which meant a lot. Like, it was cool to share it with the club members and other people that stopped through. So
yeah, no, I definitely want to thank them as well for, you know, for us, man, getting together, you know.
Yeah, that's what made this happen. I mean, yeah, you talked to me, you were like, you had seen the stuff on Hash Wednesday, you had told me that you had been able to go, and I was like, we have to do a podcast. So I'm so glad that all of these dots connected, and it's, really look forward to the future of seeing where you go with this policy and other policies, like I say, because I could see, it sounds like you've been involved in other protests and stuff, so it sounds like you're very politically active. I'm sure you've got a lot of new ideas, and I look forward to seeing what you and some of your friends come up with as this next generation carries on the torch, dude. Thanks for caring about these topics. I just wanted to say that before you go.
No, yeah, man. No, thank you for having us, man.
Yep. All right. Well, everybody, I hope you enjoyed the show. We'll see you in the future. If you liked it, don't forget to smash that like button, as the kids say. Subscribe. If you really like my work, you can support me at colememo.com/support. It's not free to do this. It does cost money. But if you're not able to do that, like I say, just smashing that like button, commenting, that's enough support in and of itself. It helps other people see the show. Once again, Jesus, thank you for joining me tonight. And everybody, take care. Have a great week. This week's going to be awesome. I'm telling you. Have a good one, everybody.